I'm ready. So welcome, bienvenue, bienvenidos. I saw a lot of Latin names on the attendees to the MuxLab Digital Signage Solutions. I probably know some of you because we have been working with the MuxLab Academy for quite a while now, and I'm very proud to be part of this MuxLab effort to help the technical training of the AV professionals in Canada and anywhere else where you may be connecting from. My name is Jose Mozota. I'm actually the president of Fremen Solutions, a company I created when I retired to do AV training. So I develop and deliver AV training for the professionals in this area. I have an experience in structured cabling and in AV with Ortronics, C2G, and Mid-Atlantic, all companies of the group Legrand. I hold a CPS and a CTSI certificate. I'm an HT-based certified trainer, Dante certified level 1, 2, 3, and digital domain manager. Also an FDVOE design partner, and I hold a Google cybersecurity certificate. Our goal today is, number one, review the digital signage market, because knowing the technology is interesting. Finding out about the products that allow us to implement the technology is interesting, because at the end of the day, we're business people. We need to understand what's in it for us, what's in it for our company, what are the opportunities that we have in this particular market. Is it an important market to be present in? Then, after we agree that it is a very good idea to do digital signage, we're going to discuss the digital signage principles. For those of you that have taken webinars previously with MuxLab Academy, we will present you at the end our solutions, but we will make sure that we lay the technical foundation so that the solutions can be understood beyond the fact that they are a black box. Then you can plug things in and get things out of it. And participate. Remember that there are no wrong questions. Place your questions on the question line on the. Okay, can you hear now? Because everybody else seems to be able to hear. Sorry, Sang, my microphone is not mute. So place your questions either on the chat or on the questions line, and I will see them. And if I see that they are appropriate to be answered at the point when they are requested, I will do that. Otherwise, we'll do it at the end of the webinar. So our agenda starts by looking at the digital signage market, and it is a huge market. It is estimated that the digital signage market globally comes up to about $25 billion, and it continues to grow at an aggregate rate of 7.7% per year. So it is a very, very interesting market to be in. And as you can see, almost every type of methodology that is used to deliver the digital signage to the users that will experience the content is also growing. So you have video walls, you have digital posters, kiosks, video screens, transparent LED screens. That there are many ways that you can deliver that, and all of them are relevant for this particular market. In the US in particular, and that would cover essentially North America, we do have that it's also a very, very relevant market, and it continues to grow. So it makes a lot of sense for any company that dwells with AV design, installation, implementation, to be aware of the options that you have on digital signage and to talk to your customers about that particular application. In terms of verticals, which is always important because you as end users belong to one of the verticals, and as integrators you dedicate yourself to one or various of these verticals. Entertainment still leads the way when it comes to digital signage, so anything that is related to entertainment will use digital signage a lot. It's logical, they live in the world of media and entertainment. Education is growing. It is also being used a lot for emergency information or for general information on campuses. So it is a way to engage with the community on a school, on a campus. Healthcare is also also using digital signage in many cases for information and guidance. Energy and utilities are using digital signage for advertising and internally. The transport industry, hospitality, the retail industry is also another one. And we're starting to see in industrial applications, digital signage being used to communicate key performance indicators to the people that work in that particular manufacturing facility. So almost every vertical has in one way or another opportunity for you to implement a digital signage solution. Sorry. Now, Infocom did a survey in 2021. They didn't do one in 2022, but essentially these were the things that were being discussed as some of the digital signage trends that they were seeing in the market, the people that actually work in digital signage. Okay, one of them was the increase on digital out-of-home ads. So not only do you get ads about things that you could buy when you are on your social media, but when you're walking around and looking at digital signage, these digital signages are trying to also sell you something through out-of-home ads that you see around you on the street, on the community, etc. There's been a growth also on holographic ads, so the technology for holographic ads has been growing. Until now, it's been going mainly in big places like big squares where a lot of people will meet, and then you have these holographic ads with a tiger jumping out and going into the audience, for example. QR codes, a lot of people said they're going to disappear, but they are here to stay, and their use continues to grow. Digital signage in the metaverse, it's an application that people see as growing in the future, so whoever is on the metaverse will have the opportunity to also be exposed to digital signage. Shoppable video ads on malls, that's also related to the touchscreen interactions. You may have a video ad on digital signage on a mall, but you may be able also to touch the screen and interact with it and even maybe make a purchase. Facial recognition for security access is also another application. Touchscreen innovation, live streaming on digital signage. So not only digital signage being for a fixed content or a fixed image or some video that you're running from a storage device or a media player, but actually having digital signage where the company is offering you a live stream of the information that they want you to experience. And finally, manufacturing KPI displays, it's another area where digital signage is becoming very relevant. Now, what are the elements of a digital signage? So essentially, there are 6 elements to any digital signage installation. Number 1, you have to have content. You have to have something that you want to show to your audience. Actually, that is the heart of A/B. What we do on A/B is we take content that has been produced by an artist, by a creator, and we have an audience that wants, or we want them to experience the content, and we transport that content to that audience either by point-to-point or by HDBaseT or by AB over IP. But when that content is in a way in which we are presenting a specific message for a specific situation or company, then we refer to it as digital signage. Besides the content, you need some kind of content management software. So you have the content, but you have obviously to create that content in a way that can be displayed in a digital signage display, and that is done through a content management software. And you can also schedule the way that that content is going to be displayed, breakfast menus in the morning, lunch menus at lunch, other menus in the afternoon. So you can actually schedule it according to the day, the hour, many flexibilities. But all that is done with your CMS or your content management software. And we will talk about MuxLab's DigiSign Plus, which is our content management software. Then, besides having the content management software, we need to do something to play back that digital signage. And those are normally players for the digital signage. And we will discuss 2 players for digital signage, the 500-789 and the 500-799. One of them is local, the other one is cloud-based. Besides, we also need to understand that the digital signage needs to be presented in an appropriate display. And there are many different types of displays that you can actually select, that you can actually use. And we'll do a brief rundown of the type of displays to try and guide you towards the decision on the display that you should use. And definitely, you also need the infrastructure. So you need the appropriate cabling for your digital signage. You need to understand that if you're going in an area that is more in the open, where there is more, let's say, EMI or RFI interference, you may need shielded cable instead of regular cable. So all those things that are taken into account where you design a network infrastructure have to be taken into account also when you are doing a digital signage infrastructure, which will be part of your network, because what we do in digital signage is take advantage of the capabilities of AV over IP to transport the signal on the network. And the sixth element of any digital signage system that I like to put in red is you need to have a strategy. So just deciding that because somebody else is doing digital signage, you are going to do digital signage is not going to take you very far. You need to have a strategy, and that strategy needs to answer the 6 W's of almost any project that you want to do. And number one is, what do you want to accomplish? So as an end user, as a company, or if you are an integrator, those are the questions that you should ask your end user, because you could help then that end user to actually find out what the end user wants, what the end user needs, which sometimes is not the same. So what do you want to accomplish with the digital signage? Also, who is your audience? In your company, who owns the project? There needs to be a project owner to guarantee that the project will lead to a good, successful end. Where are you going to show the content? And when are you going to show the content? And finally, why are you doing it? Because to do digital signage will take time, will take effort, will take resources, will take some money. So you need to understand why are you doing it, because it is all going to be about the impact. Digital signage is different from somebody watching a video on YouTube or watching a movie on Netflix or watching any of the short videos that appear here and there in your social media. Many times in digital signage, you have audiences that are just streaming by, they're walking by your digital signage. You don't have them captive. In other situations like a menu on a McDonald's, for example, that's a captive audience that's going to look at it. But many applications of digital signage are based on people walking by, and it is all about the impact. You have microseconds for those people to make the decision that they want to stop and they want to look at your digital signage. So all I'm saying is that if you're going to take the time and the money to make an investment on digital signage, or if you're going to discuss with your customer his idea of having a digital signage system put in, those are the things that you need to take into consideration to make sure that your digital signage application, your digital signage installation is going to give you return on investment. Which again, we're all business people. What we're looking is on return on investment. It doesn't pay if people just say, oh, that company has beautiful digital signage, if that doesn't generate the revenue, the interest, the investment, the sales that you're actually trying to achieve. And depending on what is your end goal, then there's different percentages of content in your digital signage, because what we call technical content and what we call emotional content. So if your interest is just to provide information, and information could be this highway is going to be closed the next week for repairs, then you just need to put information into it. You don't need a lot of heart. You don't need something striking. You just need to provide the information. As you go to the other extreme, which is the use of digital signage to create an immersive emotional experience, like people that use digital signage to create art on the digital signage, then it's going to be 100% on the emotional side. On the service industry, you try to attract the attention, but still produce a lot of technical information on trying to sell something. you start getting more into the emotional side. And if you're doing your brand marketing, then definitely you want to put a little bit more emotion into it to attract the attention of the people, and then they will look at the technical side. But this is an interesting slide that I found from Infocom, one of the latest digital signage shows they had. And it was an interesting discussion as to how do you balance the technology and the emotion on your digital signage to reach impact. Emotion will give you the impact. Emotion will make people stop, and then they will look at the information. Okay, so we have a strategy. We decided we're going to do digital signage because it's an important market that we want to be in. And as users, we want to do digital signage because we believe it can contribute to our bottom line. So how are we going to display the digital signage? Well, there are different types of screens that you can use to display your digital signage, and they have different characteristics. They have different costs, and they also have different limitations. So the oldest type of screens out there is the LCD, liquid crystal display screens, also called cathode fluorescent lamps backlit. So these are screens that are backlit by cathode fluorescent lamps. They are the cheaper screens that you can get out there. They are the older technology, so they are pretty well known, very reliable. You can get a lot of information on the market and feedback from many, many users about them. They tend to be heavier, and they also need more power. So they are a little bit like yesterday's technology when it comes to digital signage, but in the same way that we use MPEG-2 still to do some encoding of AV streams to put them on the network because it is always reliable and it's inexpensive. LCDs give you also that option. Then when we move to LED screens will be lighted by LEDs, light emitting diodes, and there are two types of LED screens. One of them is like backlighted, like the LCD. Instead of the lamps, you have the LEDs. Another one is edge lighted, so you have the LEDs on the edge of the screen that send the light, and that produces the illumination. LEDs are more expensive than LCDs. However, they give you a brighter image. And a brighter image is always important, especially if you're going to be in an area that may be affected by sunlight or by very bright light in that particular area. They take less power than LCDs, so they're more energy efficient, and they actually tend to be thinner. So you can make thinner LED screens compared to LCDs. And at the bottom, and I will refer to that in each of the display slides, when it comes to viewing distance, where do you think that the user has to be standing to actually appreciate your digital sign? You can refer to the Discus standard of AVIXA, and also every manufacturer of digital signage screens gives you a table of distance versus pixel pitch on the screen. The next development on digital signage screens would be OLEDs. So those are organic light emitting diodes. Those are even more expensive than LEDs. However, they provide you with a better contrast. And that one cannot be, let's say, unappreciated, because you probably know that our eyes are more sensitive to contrast than they are sensitive to color. That's one of the principles of chroma subsampling, for example. And that is why when you go into a box store like Best Buy, all their screens are actually calibrated for really high contrast. And I have seen demonstrations where a 1080p screen at high contrast beats a 4K screen that has not been calibrated for high contrast. So contrast is very important. The ability of OLEDs to deliver best contrast is their strongest point. So they are ideal for that wow factor. So if you really want to get impact, then an OLED may be the screen for you. Then what we have now is also direct view LEDs. So essentially direct view LEDs will be the screens where the LEDs are located in there, one for red, one for green, one for blue, and those combination of colors lighted in a certain way will give you the color that you need for the screen. They are typically used for video walls, so they come in panels, and you can attach the panels one to another. They are bezel free, although in some situations, if you have a video wall where you want to distinguish between different contents, you may want to add a bezel, but they are bezel free. They actually give you a very good contrast, and they give you the best viewing angle, meaning that if you are at an angle from the screen, you also have a good view of the content on the screen. They are very efficient when it comes to energy, and you can choose your pixel pitch. That means you can choose the size of your pixels, and that's going to depend on your application. If you want to go to the extreme, those sideboards that you see on a highway when you're driving that says the exit is closed, and it looks like a series of green dots, for example, that is the rudest type of the direct view LEDs. It's just green LEDs and big pixel pitch in order to provide you with a very simple message. However, nowadays the Las Vegas Surface, that famous, let's say, dome that they have put in Las Vegas, where they are creating incredible displays, that is done with direct view LEDs, and definitely they have a relatively small pixel pitch. When it comes to the displays, one of the things that they are different at is showing brightness. So LCDs are the ones that can show the smallest levels of brightness. LEDs can go to higher levels of brightness. Nits, it's kind of a unit that is used to describe brightness and is related to the difference between the dark and the full white. They say that the human eye can appreciate 10,000 nits. That's why when we go into a dark room, we can quickly distinguish between the shadows, certain shapes, because we can appreciate that difference. That is the basis also for high dynamic range, to be able to provide you with more nits. So the more nits you have, the more you are able to appreciate the difference between darkness and brightness. And there are some LED screens that can go up to 6,500 nits. They are not cheap, because the moment you try to go up so high on nits, the things start to get very expensive, but those are great for outdoors. OLEDs, on the other hand, can only provide about 800 nits, but the fact that they provide you that extra contrast helps you have an image that looks better than the one on the LEDs. When it comes to lifetime, which is always important when you're making an installation, for commercial equipment, most of the screens that are sold are rated at more than 60,000 hours, or typically 100,000 hours, and that's considered about 10 years lifetime. LG claims that their OLEDs are good for about 100,000 hours. Many of the other manufacturers claim 30 to 60. Since OLED are still relatively new, they haven't been around for 10 years. You can claim whatever you want. It's going to take time before we realize how they're going to behave on a long time installation. When it comes to the bezel that will define the screen, and if you're putting it on a video wall, the bezel can be as thin as 1 millimeter, or essentially no bezel if you're doing a direct LED panel installation. But like I said before, if you have a video wall and that video wall not only shows one content but many pieces of contents in what now is called a digital canvas, where you're showing the weather and maybe presentation and maybe YouTube and maybe some video, etc., you may want to have a bezel that is visible, because that helps the viewer identify the different content that they are looking at. So you set up your screen, and where do you put it? Because there's nothing worse than going into a store, and I've been, for example, to one of the chicken places in Quebec, Saint-Hubert, and at the place where I was supposed to stand in front of the desk that you make your choices there, I was not able to see the bottom of their digital signage because the type was too small. So that is a waste of a digital signage because it doesn't help the customer understand your offering. So essentially, when you need to do that, you do need to go out and determine the right distance for viewers. So if you have a static image, not for video, Avixa has a standard called Discuss. Discuss is display image size for 2D content in AV systems, not for video, for static images, but there are many digital signs that are static images, and they have two formulas that help you calculate the distance. If you want the viewer to be able to analyze in detail the screen, to be able to analyze in detail the information, what is called analytical viewing, what a doctor would do with an MRI, what an engineer would do with a, let's say, a CAD drawing, etc., then the farthest viewing distance, that is how far can a viewer be and still appreciate that, is related to the height of the image, factor 3438, and the resolution of the image. So the higher the resolution, the closer you have to get, because the higher the resolution, the smaller the pixel size. If you just want your viewer to view the image and make some basic decisions like I'm shopping, or I like this, or I like that, but I don't need to see the pixels, then the farthest viewing distance will be related to the image height, the factor 200, and what is called the percent element, which is how big is your type in comparison to the total size of your display. This is, for example, a 2% element on the screen that you're viewing now. So these letters are 2% of the total height of your display. This is a 3%, 4%, 5% element. As you can see, as my percent element increases, I can go farther and farther back and still be able to read what is being presented to me. In the case of Saint-Hubert, their element was too small for the distance at which I was, and I could not get any closer because there was a counter in front of me. So always please be very mindful when you're setting up a digital signage display that you put it in a place where the people that are going to watch it can actually appreciate what you are presenting. Now, in most cases, comparing now to pixel pitch, if you're using direct view LEDs, then you can calculate your distance to the closest viewer also by a formula that has the pixel pitch. When the pixel pitch tends to be on the higher side, and we'll see on the next slide what is high, will be the closest viewer distance divided by 7, and that will give you the size of your display. So this allows you to size your display. You either take the farthest viewer and divide it by 2 in feet, and that gives you the diagonal of your display, or you look at the closest viewer and divide it by 7 if you have very high pitches, or divide it by 11 if you have low pixel pitch, and that will give you the size of your screen. So that's not only how do you set up the viewer to be able to see the screen, how do you determine the size of your screen. And this is a typical chart that most manufacturers of displays that you're going to use on a digital signage application will give you, indicating, depending on the pixel pitch that you are choosing, then if it's a very, very small pixel pitch, then you have to be very close to appreciate it. Think about it from the point of view that if you're selecting a small pixel pitch, it's because you want to be able to show small details. So people need to get closer. In general, we're talking between 1 to 2 millimeters of pixel pitch, even if you're not using direct view LED on regular screens. That's the kind of pixel pitch that you get. So you end up with distances between 8 and 20 feet from the viewer, depending on what you are doing. But always follow the recommendations of the particular manufacturer or your screen. And if it's static images, then go in and check the distance calculation from Discuss from the Avixa standard. Any questions in particular about the principles of digital signage, please add them to our question line, and I'll be trying to answer them. Now we're going to talk a little bit about what MuxLab can offer you when it comes to digital signage, or in general. You probably know MuxLab's in here, based in Montreal, and it's been in business for over 35 years. MuxLab covers applications, anything related to Pro AV and broadcast, which is an interesting interaction. Many companies only deal with broadcast or with Pro AV, but we can benefit in Pro AV for what a broadcast is doing. Most of you may be aware of SMPTE 2110 in broadcast and how that is turning into IPMX, which is the new standard when it comes to transport protocols for AV over IP, and I hope we're going to have a webinar about that soon in the future. So you're also going to see our applications almost in every possible application and in every possible vertical. And what we're going to give you when it comes to digital signage is the ability to create, schedule, and publish your content. So we said at the beginning that you needed a content management system, and we will offer you a content management system that is going to be very easy, very intuitive to utilize, that is also going to give you the ability to schedule your content whenever you think that you need to show it to your audience, and you're going to have the players that will allow you to publish that particular content that you're trying to present. So the software that we're going to offer you for running your digital content management system is DigiSign. And DigiSign, I'll show you some screens. It's fairly intuitive. It will give you menus like these ones indicating where do you want to bring your images from, because it supports multiple formats. You can get RSS feeds if you have them. You can bring images from Instagram. You can include video. You can include text. You can include fixed images. You can get directly the weather with an API internally that allows you to grab the weather information or the exchange information or a ticker information for the stocks or stock information. So there's so many things that you can do, and all of them are very intuitive in the menus that you will be offered. It also allows you to do yearly scheduling. So you will be able to indicate that this has to happen at these particular times of the year. So it's not that you have to go every season into the custom content management system to schedule your displays for that particular season. You can do it for the whole year, is that if what you prefer. So essentially, it is extremely, extremely powerful. The output of the CMS is compatible with 4K signage players that we will offer you, and it can work in two different ways. It can be a standalone on a specific location where you have your digital signage player only for that particular local area network or subnet or location, or it can also be a public cloud. So we would also show you a player that will allow you to get information from the cloud, or that will allow you to transmit information through the cloud and have your player receive that information somewhere else. So that gives you all the possible flexibility that you may need depending on the needs of your particular customer or on your needs if you are an end user in this presentation. So the public cloud CMS option is a very interesting one because it allows you to communicate with multiple players. So the player can be anywhere, and it can communicate with the source of the content that you want to manage anywhere where you want. And like anything that we do related to the cloud or related to networking, it will support multiple user secure access. And also the users can collaborate if they need to create and schedule content. So it gives you almost all the possible flexibilities that you may need. The standalone content management system, you'll get it for free. So if you just have an application in your own local area network and you get our player, you will get a CMS application that you can implement without any extra cost. If you're going to do the cloud-based CMS, you will need a license for each one of the players that you're going to set up around the world or around the state or around the city, wherever you want to display your content, controlled by the CMS in public cloud. So it allows you to take any kind of AV content and show it in any number of displays that you want on a video wall. It's actually compatible with our entire AV over IP product line. So once we encode an AV stream into any of our encoding products, so MPEG-2, H.264, H.265, JPEG 2000, anything, it will actually then be compatible with our players. You can schedule the content for many weeks. We set up to yearly. You can create, and we'll show you some screens, some multi-view layout. So the layout of your digital signage can include all those elements that we discussed in that particular menu, and you can include them in a multi-view, adding text, banners, and images, and it's extremely intuitive to use it. Can you help with the picture of the distance to fit the large of the screen based on distance? Yes, sure, I can do that. So this one is more of a, let's say, best practice or fast way to calculate things. This is the size of your diagonal for the screen. I mean, do you want your screen to be 50 inches, 60 inches, 40 inches, etc.? What you need to do there, if you're going to look at your farthest viewer, is divide the distance in feet from the farthest viewer by 2, and you get the recommended or suggested diagonal of the screen in feet. By the way, you will get a copy, if you haven't received it yet, of this presentation on PDF, so you will have all these screens. And if you instead want to check about the closest viewer, so you can do it based on the closest viewers or on the farthest viewer, depending on your application. If you know that people are going to be close because they are standing at a counter, for example, or they're standing at a kiosk, you can do your calculations based on closest viewers. If you're having people walk by and take a look at your digital signage, you may want to do it to the distance to the farthest viewer. So if you're doing it with the closest viewer, then you need to consider your pixel pitch. And if your pixel pitch is high, which means it's in the higher end of this chart from 1.5 up, then you use the formula of pixel pitch in millimeters. You take the closest viewer distance and divide it by 7. If your pixel pitch is lower than 1.5, then you take the closest viewer distance and divide it by 11, and that will give you a suggested diagonal for your screen. Okay. And I think that these webinars are normally posted also on the MuxLab Academy, so you can always go back and review the material there, or they're also posted in YouTube. Okay, so look at this screen, for example. This would be your CMS in action, and it will be the part where you're editing the slide that you're going to be showing a particular fixed image. So this would correspond to a fixed image slide, for example, where we have all the options that I showed you before. You have a lot of widgets that you can select. You can use the embedded code for that, or you can do your own custom code if you want. So here we are starting a recipe for the soup of the day. Here is a combination of different things that we can put in screen. This is actually at the Montreal airport, for example. Welcome to Montreal. There is this coffee place that has happy hour 7 days a week, and you can go out and have nice beer or wine. This is the weather right now in Montreal. There is some streaming at the bottom, a ticker. In this case, they are offering you different flights from different options to bring your attention to the fact that there are particular offers when it comes to going to, let's say, vacation destinations. So all these can be done on the CMS by either introducing the slides yourself, the pictures, by grabbing these stickers when they are available from different suppliers that are actually interested in you having access to the tickers because they want to show their message, or by grabbing the weather through the weather widget that essentially is running an API in the back connecting to a weather service and grabbing the weather for you. Does the CMS have stock transition and phase to use different slides? If not, how could they be implemented? Yes, you will have the opportunity to create the presentation, not only the slide. We will see at the end different screens for the CMS in detail of the software, and I hope that that will bring the idea to mind. But yes, you can actually select transitions between different slides, or you can even put a video there that runs for a certain amount of time. Okay, so here you have, for example, another one with the clock. I love Amsterdam, a picture of Amsterdam, and I think that here you see transition. So in this case, you even see what you were just asking. So this is a fade, 3 seconds per slide. So essentially, you are creating a slide show, and the software gives you the capabilities of going in and how many seconds you're going to keep each slide on the screen, how you're going to transition from one slide to the other. It certainly gives you a lot of flexibility on how to create your content. Now, once you created the content, then you have to select your player. So if you're gonna do your content display locally, you're gonna connect it to your local area network, then you connect the 789, or what we call the Windows player, to the network, and that will allow you to support 4K 60, 444 videos, or dual, or 4 1080p 60 hertz videos on a single screen. So it will allow you for multiple outputs on a single screen. It does scaling, so if you have 1080p and you have a 4K screen, it will do the corrective scaling for the screen. It supports 120 gig of internal storage, so you can set up also storage inside the media player, but since the media player is on the network, it will also allow you to grab material that is actually in other locations, other storage areas on the networks. It allows for multi-view and picture-in-picture, and it is compatible with the DigiSign CMS standalone software. So for the local area network, we're working at making this player also be able to get information or play on the public cloud. But right now, this one is limited to the local application. Where you want to go to the wider application, then you go to what we refer to as the Android player, and this connection here is for an antenna. So you have the same characteristics that you had before, but it does support essentially most of the codecs that are most widely used for transmission across the internet, across the cloud, which would be lossy codecs like H.264, H.265, BP9 from YouTube, which means also that it will support AV1, the newer codec when Google provided BP9 to the Alliance for Open Media. You can send multiple streams and you can multicast to it too. So essentially, it gives you all the capabilities to be able to show your content wherever you want and however you want to show it. And this would be a simple, let's say, way that we could look at it. We have the gigabit Ethernet switch, so we have a network. We have the DigiSign running on a laptop or in a PC connected to the network. So we do all our programming there on the DigiSign, and from the DigiSign we communicate that programming to the player that we are using. And from the player we could be going to a monitor, we could be going to a middle, a video wall, and also if we connect it to a router, then we have the option to go into the internet and start then communicating with our public cloud player. We mentioned it at the beginning, but you're going to see signage almost everywhere. Definitely there are some places where it is more prevalent, like airports, train, bus, subways, in corporate offices nowadays. In most lobbies, you're going to have signage about the company that you're visiting. In hotels, they're using signage all over the place. Hospital, dentist office. So signage is everywhere, and it is used for entertainment, to attract your attention and entertain you. For ads, we want to sell you something, or we want to make you aware of something. For events that are going to happen, and we want you to be aware of the event. For alerts, in case that we're using it on an emergency system, for example, and that's very popular in campuses, to use the digital signage also connected to the alert system. So I say that it's limited to the creativity of the designer, either at the user that knows what they want, or at the integrator that is able to propose an idea to a user that can actually help the bottom line of that user. So if you're at an airport, for example, here there is a combination of different solutions that we can be running at that airport. We can be having the digital signage media player running on the server farm on that airport, and from there being connected to the different displays where we want to show digital signage as designed by the DigiSign CMS software, and also the Mux Control app that you're probably familiar with, that allows you to control all your AV over IP devices. You also have HDMI over IP for with a PoE transmitters that will then send the data across the network to any place where you want to show that particular HDMI information. And we also have a Pro Digital Network Controller that allows you to control all the routing, all the specifications, all the characteristics and properties of the different AV over IP devices that we have installed in that particular environment. And that can be reproduced in a sports bar, obviously more simplified. But I always like to say, when I'm teaching or training about AV over IP, that you should not be scared of an AV over IP system, because at its heart, it's extremely simple. Of course, it gets complicated as we scale it up, but essentially all it does is grab a source, put it into a box that it's an encoder, and that encoder will compress the signal to the bandwidth of the network, and will encode it to put it as zeros as ones inside the network, and then a decoder somewhere else on the network that will take the signal out, decode it, and present it. So you have one encoder per source, one decoder per display. And if you just have a sports bar, you may have 6 encoders for 6 channels for television and sports, and maybe 20 decoders because you have 20 screens. That's all you need. So you have 26 ports. If you put a 48-port switch, you don't even have to go through the complexities of uplinking switches. You can do it with one switch only. Of course, when we need to add 2 switches or more, like an airport, casino, then the thing gets a little bit more complex. But at its heart, it's extremely simple to use any of these solutions, and your DigiSign is going to run over the same network. In many cases, we would recommend that your DigiSign runs on a virtual LAN. So when you're running your local area network, that you put your digital signage on a virtual LAN, because in that way you reduce the broadcast domain for that virtual LAN, and you have less traffic or broadcast that may be delaying, interfering, giving you latency for your digital signage system, and it's kept isolated. It is more secure, and it has a better performance it goes into a virtual LAN, in the same way that you do your security cameras on a virtual LAN for the same reason. So digital signage is a good application to think about putting it on your own virtual local area network. You can have it in retail also, and on retail, the applications are getting to be very interesting, especially with the access to touch screens. I have seen examples where you can actually stand on front of one of those screens and press a button, and the dress that you're looking at or the piece of clothing that you're looking at actually appears on you, like to see how it looks when you're actually using it. So the availability of touch screens and the technology behind those are going to really revolutionize the idea of what you can do with digital signage on retail. So let's look at some of the screens of digital signage. Essentially, you log into the login screen, and that has all the capabilities and characteristics of any networking type of login: multiple users, administration, operators, secure connections, requirement for username and password. Then here you have the different options, slides, and when you choose that option, you go into that screen I showed you before with the widgets, where you will be allowed to create your slides. Then you can go and, like I said, you can use all kinds of feeds and widgets that are available to create your slides. The next thing will be schedule. I created my slides, I created my presentation with the slideshow, etc. I included the videos if I want to show any videos, and I can go in and do scheduling. It can be yearly scheduling. I can copy signage content to any day. I can do repeat. I can add things. I mean, there is no limitation to what you can do in terms of schedule, and you can schedule a unit, or you can schedule directly a group of units to make it easier for you when it comes to planning your shows to your audience. Then you can go into the units, so you can discover the players. The players will auto-discover. So essentially, like almost any device nowadays that is connected to a network, they will use one of the discovery protocols to say, I'm here, and the network will know that it's there, and the other players will know that it's there, and the player for your media will know that it's there, and then it will be available to actually go in and be utilized. And you can create here the units, for example. Then you can go into the users, and you can give user categories. You can have an admin, or you can have an operator. So you can have somebody that can do anything, or somebody that has limited rights but can actually do certain things when it comes to your digital signage. You can also recover lost passwords, anything that you typically have. The CMD have stock transactions and fades for use between different slides, if not how they could be implemented. Yes, it does have. I think I had an example here. Unfortunately, I don't have examples of everything, but here you can see on this page editor that we were doing, it says transition fade, seconds per slide. So here you can choose how many seconds per slide during the presentation and what is the kind of transition. I'm not, let's say, totally knowledgeable about the software, so I don't know what other transitions are available, but I'm sure that if you send the message to MuxLab's sales or communicate with them, they'll be able to tell you all the various things that you can do. Now, also think that you can try it for free. The CMS software is totally free. I went into the MuxLab's site the other day, and I downloaded the software, and I installed it on my Windows machine, and I started playing with it. So it is totally free. You can download it, you can play with it, and get a feel for what it can do for you. Very important also, it gives you proof of play. So that's a feature that tracks when the slide was play. So if you're actually running the digital signage system as a service to a customer, you can actually show the customer when the slide was showed, when the ad was shown, and in that way you can bill the customer if that is your business. So you can create customers, and you can prepare the system so that it provides proof of play for each one of the customers that you're actually dealing with. It has settings like language, security, backup slides, restore slides. There's many things that you can do on the settings section if you are the administrator, and logically you can also log out. So we're almost into the 1 hour. And I always like to finish all my webinars in this way. How do you implement what we just discussed, digital signage? And the first answer for me, it's always educate yourself. And that's what we're doing today. The only way to use technology efficiently and effectively is to understand it, is to educate yourself. I would never do a webinar where I tell you, get this black box, connect the cable in this side, connect the cable on the other side, and it's going to work. I think that it's extremely important that you understand what goes into the box, what happens inside the box, what goes outside of the box. So that's what I mean by educate yourself. The second part is once you educate yourself, you can cut through the noise. And what I call the noise, and I'm sorry, Lori, is marketing always does a good job of putting bells and whistles in all their offerings from all the manufacturers out there. Some of it is noise, and you need to understand the technology to be able to really understand what are we offering. And that's what we try to do in seminars, webinars like this at the Academy, is provide you first with the technical understanding and then show you how that technical understanding allows you to make the best selection of the solutions that we can offer you. And finally, in the case of digital signage, what do you want to communicate to the user? Because it's all about your strategy. If you don't have a strategy, then you are going to waste your money. You should not have a digital signage system. Thank you very much for attending this Academy, MuxLab Academy webinar. And like we said, it's available on the Academy, will be available, the recording, and also on YouTube. Remember that you can talk to us about anything on Pro AV and broadcast, AV over IP, Dante Audio. We have been presenting some webinars on the new offering of MuxLab, which is an entry-level Dante Audio solutions that make it very easy to get acquainted with the technology before scaling it up. Digital signage, video conferencing with MuxMeet, and also streaming, which is a very important part of any video over IP solutions. If there are any questions, I will leave here in the meantime the contact information. Again, you'll get the PDF, so you can contact by emailing info@MuxLab or sales team at MuxLab, or calling them directly. And if you have questions about the products specifically, please contact MuxLab directly. If you have any questions about technology in general and you would like to contact me, I'm also available to answer any questions that you may have at freemansolutions@gmail.com, and I'm based in Ottawa, Ontario.